programming through Jetpack, and let me mute that, allows you to go ahead and include video, commenting boards, polling forms, and interactive transcripts for any on-demand programming. You can engage questions, checkpoints, disable fast forward, or set thresholds for unlocking the ability to submit for credit. So up here on the right-hand side, we've got some really great interactive transcript ability where they can search for specific keywords, or they can click on sentences. You've just seen a pop-up, and it's a ploy for attention on our side to make sure that we're meeting your needs. So hopefully I can answer yes. I'm assuming that's what you're yelling on the other side of your computer. On the right-hand side, we have the ability to go ahead and add polling so that you can get learners involved. And they can even post comments, so sharing their experience with other learners or what they like or want to see more of. Next up, I have a SCORM compliant, well, actually that's the Jetpack, but the next one is going to be a PDF compliant handout here. So if there's any content that you want to make available, you could go ahead and post this for your learners. So if that's part of your programming, you want to tie in some PDF components, you can do that as well. And then next up is going to be the SCORM portion of the programming. So we do support multiple SCORM types and files. They're all supported within Crowd Wisdom. We're agnostic to the type of file that you'd like to support. It could be Lectora, iSpring, Articulate, Captivate, and others, which are supported directly within our native SCORM player. The next folder would represent maybe an afternoon session where we have another additional live program, and maybe they want the ability to go ahead and watch another SCORM course. So this is another freestone program where we have a video that's streaming through. And then next we have our SCORM course. Now you see these little half moons and check boxes that are following me around. This is your ability to see what you've completed or what you have yet to finalize within the system. Now, once I've met all the requirements, maybe for my morning and afternoon session, I then have the ability to go ahead and take the test. Now, Crowd Wisdom has a really powerful assessment engine, and we have the ability to go ahead and support time limits. We can visually eliminate answers if you'd like to do that. Images for questions and feedback. You can allow learners to take notes and print the questions. You can flag questions, feedback for questions. We've got question banks. We also have the ability to set the number of attempts that a learner has to take the test. And then of course we support multiple question types, multiple choice, all that apply, fill in a blank, matching, sequencing, essay type questions. So let me go ahead and take this one here for you. Hopefully I won't mess it up too bad. But this is going to be your ability to provide feedback or reasoning for each of the individual questions. And then the learner also has the ability to see how they rank against their peers. So you can go ahead and see, you know, how are they doing? Do they need to study up a little bit more in one subject or another? You also have the ability, like I mentioned, to take those notes. You can ask questions, tag these. You have the ability to go ahead and change your display option if you want to change the font, size, and type. So it's really user-friendly. You could highlight like questions or dislike them. But of course, these are also options that you can turn on or off. So here's going to be the example of where you can go ahead and cross out an answer that you don't think is correct as a test taker. Next up, we're going to go ahead. I'll try to fill these out here quickly. We've got a lot of great feedback. And then here is a choose all that apply, and I'll submit this answer. And at this point, this is where the learner is going to go ahead and receive feedback or information about what they've done to this quiz up to this point. So they have the ability to go ahead and see how they've answered. If they wanted to go back and check the quiz question, they can. And then they'll finalize by submitting to see how they've done. So I can see my percentage, my score. I can check my questions by correct or incorrect, or even unanswered or marked questions. And then if a learner wants to dig into that specific question and the reasoning behind it, they can do so as well. Now, once they've taken the test and they've met the threshold of requirements that you've set for them, they then have the ability to go ahead and take a survey. So this is going to be where you can get that really great valuable data and feedback from your learners about how they felt about the programming and what they want to see in future programs. These final steps can also trigger credentialing and certificates of completion. So we can provide a customized certificate that the learner has met the requirements for that live program. So Crowd Wisdom has a lot of great features and functionality. I'd be happy to dive into a little bit greater detail if you'd like to see a customized demo of this platform, but I really wanted to highlight your ability to take the features and functionality and then really use it for live programming and then combining it with some on-demand elements as well. So now that we've talked about the Crowd Wisdom support and solution, I'd like to go ahead and dive into the functionality of Freestone directly. Now, that's me, hello. I've been talking to you here for a little while. This is going to be an example of our Freestone solution. So this is where you can go ahead and customize the experience per event. Now, Freestone Live Event Platform is our own proprietary solution. We aren't depending on an external solution, which really allows us to support some pretty cool functionality. It also allows us to support high capacity events instead of having to keep attendee caps low or denying access once you reach a certain attendee count. Freestone can support several types of programming. First, we have the webinar solution, where your presenter is at home, sharing their slides, maybe their webcam like you're seeing right now, or just simply their audio. Next would be webcasting. So webcasting, one day in a future reality, just imagine it, there'll be these events called on-site conferences where people will interact in person, they'll laugh, they'll have a great time. In those scenarios, we would go ahead and send our staff on site or work with your local techs to actually record the content on site and then stream it live to your virtual audience. And I think that even though we can't do this right now, it's definitely something that hopefully we'll get back to here in the future. And you'll really still need to provide a really great experience for your virtual audience. So it really allows you to provide an on-site experience while allowing anybody who needs to participate virtually to receive a really great program as well. So here I've got a video streaming next to a corresponding PowerPoint presentation. Finally, we have rebroadcasting. This takes previously recorded content and streams it live for your attendees as if it was happening in real time. So you can go ahead and pre-record your presenters, edit your content, or just feel a little bit more comfortable about your event day and having everything ready to stream. All of these programs are going to use the Freestone interface as well as on-demand content. So your learners aren't disjointed and going through different solutions and systems. They're just using one solution through Freestone. Now I'm going to go ahead and showcase different elements within the system. So Freestone is fully customizable in that you can add logos of your choice. So if you want to highlight your logo or a sponsor logo, you can do so here. You also get to determine the different panel configurations. So here in the upper left-hand corner, I've got my webcam streaming. This could be any of your presenters. We can support up to 6 different presenters. You can have a Brady Bunch layout. You could go ahead and have a layout where the presenters who's speaking, their screen takes up the entire real estate. In the upper right-hand side here, I've got my presentation. So these are the slides that the presenter will be navigating through. I've got an iframe of a different website. Maybe you want to showcase your sponsors or your own website for learners to navigate through. I have the ability to claim credit. So that's also a really great benefit of Freestone, is that you have the ability to monitor their participation and then award credit at the conclusion of the event. So you can offer credit. You can go ahead and add checkpoint requirements. So if you have to make sure learners are paying attention, you can go ahead and do so through the system, where we can send out prompts that learners have to hit in order to submit for credit. You could also make sure they watch the program to completion, they could take a quiz, and then you can also go ahead and have them submit a survey at the conclusion. Materials are available for learners to go ahead and download if they want to go ahead and have any substantive information about the program or any handouts made available. In the lower left-hand corner, this is where you can go ahead and add your announcement. So if you wanted to go ahead and remind attendees to ask questions, welcome them to the event. Attendees can chat with one another. So if you wanted to go ahead and have a networking or interactivity program, you could. Maybe you want a cocktail hour at the end of your day-long conference. You could have that interactivity available here. And then the ability, of course, to ask questions to your presenters. Now in the lower left-hand corner, this is where you can go ahead and have support from our learning team. So if you wanted to go ahead and have our support staff handle your learners, we can do that. We can provide chat support, email, or phone call support, especially with live programs where it has to happen, that support has to happen immediately. Our team can fully support your programming. Now, again, you get to go ahead and change the panel configuration. You can change different websites that you want to add in here. You could add HTML tabs as well. So this is all fully customizable per program. So if your presenters have different looks or feels that they want to showcase during the event, they can easily do so through Freestone. Now that we've talked about the front end, I want to go ahead and highlight or showcase the back end of the system. So this is where you would go ahead as a presenter, or you would go in as a moderator to actually make sure the program is being executed to successful limits for you and your learners. So in the upper left-hand corner, this is where you would go ahead and turn on your webcam functionality. So I've got my webcam on. I can even change the layout. So let's say I wanted to do that tiled view, a sidebar view, or a spotlight. You get to go ahead and prescribe that for your learners. On the right-hand side, this is where you can go ahead and navigate through the presentation. Now, as a presenter, all you have to do is simply click on those slides. You don't have to worry about downloading anything. Freestone is all web-based, so you don't have to worry about plugins, firewalls, issues along those lines. All your presenters need to do is use that URL. They can upload a presentation of their choice. You can have multiple presenters. So if you have different presenters, or maybe you want to upload a PowerPoint presentation and have it rotate through kind of like a preview to a movie, you could do some marketing slides before the event begins. Or your presenters can go ahead and utilize screen share as well. So if they're doing something like we're doing now, or we're doing a demo of the platform, you can do that here. Maybe they're showing an Excel spreadsheet, all really great options. In the lower left-hand corner, this is where you'll go ahead and push through the announcements. So this is where you would remind your attendees about specific elements within the program. You can moderate Q&A that comes through. And what's really great here is you have the ability to flag or unflag questions that are appropriate. So let's say I wanted to flag that this is a really great question, and then I want to filter that so that only the presenters see the flagged questions. They don't have to waste their time on any technical questions that might come through. Checkpoints, this is going to be that credit element. So this is making sure your learners are paying attention. Not that they would ever be doing anything else or multitasking, but this is your ability to go ahead and send through checkpoints. Now this could have a pop audio, this could have a ding, we can keep it up for 30 seconds, 90 seconds, but your learner has to hit the appropriate amount of checkpoints in order to submit for credit. So here I would set the threshold. 3 checkpoints out of 5 that I'll send today. They could be question checkpoints where the appropriate answer would signify a hit checkpoint. Or you can go ahead and just use those simple prompts. So this really is tied to credit, where they have to hit that threshold in order to unlock their ability to submit for credit. Now, on the more fun side of things, you do have the ability to send out polling. So this is where you can go ahead and get your attendees involved in understanding what they liked about the program, what they want to learn during today's program. You can go ahead and publish those results so that your attendees can see how they compare against their peers. All of these are really great options. And then finally, you also have the ability to go ahead and send through text boxes, surveys, videos, YouTube, web page. So let's say you're a sponsor and you want to showcase a video about your programming. You can go ahead and do so by sending through a video. So here's just an example of showcasing a video during the event. So those are going to be really great ways in which you can go ahead and build interactivity during the program for your learner. It also allows your sponsors, since they are not there in person, they can really engage with your learners and understand what their requirements might be for programming. Now on the right-hand side, this is where you can see any of your moderators that are logged in, as well as your attendees. You can join that public chat if you wanted to, or you can go ahead and reach out to individual attendees as well. Now, because Freestone is one solution for all of our different types of programming, you get to really change the way in which it looks. So you can go ahead and make your stream take up more real estate. You could go ahead and change it so the interactivity takes up more real estate, where you can go ahead and showcase your announcement, your Q&A, checkpoints, and polling. So that's really your ability within the control panel as a presenter to control the event and make sure that you're showcasing the appropriate content for your programming. And one final element that I wanted to leave off on, because it is a live program, it's not set for credit submission, but I did want to show how you can submit credit within the Freestone platform. So as a learner, once your event has concluded and you've met those requirements, you would then submit for credit within the platform directly. So you don't have to worry about them going to an external system or them having to go ahead and download their download or register for a different system credit submission. So you can go ahead and have learners take testing. We support multiple choice, choose all that apply, and open-ended questions. And then we would provide them feedback on how they've done. So this is where you'll go ahead and let the learner know how they've done. They can provide feedback on specific answers. They could filter by correct or incorrect. And then the final step is going to be submitting for the survey. So this is where you can get that valuable feedback. You can also use a pop-up or poll if you wanted to during the program, but this is just an alternate way as part of the credit submission process. They'll submit confirming the organization of choice, and then they'll receive a certificate of completion. So now I've landed within my Freestone transcript where it shows me all of the courses I've submitted for, any I have yet to submit for, and then here's a customized version of a certificate. So this is where the learner will receive their certificate of completion with their specific dynamic information that populates based on that learner's participation. Now you can upload your logo, your disclaimer, any signatures you'd like. We can even support multiple certificates. So if you wanted to go ahead and have different designations, receive different certificates, that's an option within the system as well. Now that's going to be a high-level overview of both platforms, both Freestone and Crowd Wisdom, and how we can help support your online programming. Besides great features and functionality, we also have a fantastic team that works with you to define a comprehensive solution and support your complete implementation and integrations and manage your long-term learning success. I'd love the opportunity to go into greater detail about any other features or functionalities included with both systems. So Reggie, if we have any questions, I'd be happy to address those now.
I don't see it in the Q&A, but I've got a couple of questions.
Okay, excellent.
Talk to me a little bit about integrations and APIs.
Excellent, great question. So as you know, we're part of the Community Brands family. So we do have a lot of standard integrations with some of our learning platforms, or our association management platforms like your membership, Aptify, NetForum, and Nimble. But we also are open to working and integrating with lots of different platforms as well. So we have an open API. We've worked with a lot of different AMS vendors and bridges as well. So that's something we would explore with you to understand your requirements, and as long as they're open to integrating with us, we can do so on our side as well.
Got it. You probably mentioned this and it got by me, but what do you do with student transcripts and management of student CME credits?
Great question. So we would send that credit data back to your association management system or CRM of choice if that's preferred. So we do have credit integrations where any content or credit that is submitted for within Freestone or Crowd Wisdom, we would send that data back to the association management system of record, or we would go ahead and of course keep that within the LMS. So if you're moving forward with a standalone solution and you do not need an integration, all of that data will be housed within the system, as well as any reporting around that information, how they did on quizzes, testing, credit submission, what certificates they've received. All of that reporting is available for you within the system.
Good. So one question I had, because I've seen a lot of people struggle with during these times where they're doing this movement to virtual, is how do they manage presenters? So I know you talked about it a little bit, but anything you can show us in terms of what a speaker might see or a presenter might see ahead of time in terms of loading up their content, or do you do that? How does that all work?
Great question. So the presenters will have access to the control panel as soon as the course is created. So as soon as the administrator creates the course within Freestone, they would have the ability to go ahead and share the URL for your presenter to log in. So at that point, the presenter can practice navigating through slides. They can upload their presentation of choice. They can even practice with screen share or their webcam. So all of that is available for them immediately within Freestone. You can also post their handouts, so the administrator would be responsible for posting handouts within the system. And then on the Crowd Wisdom side, you would work with whatever solution of choice that you wanted to, that we would be integrating with for that live solution.
Got it. Got it. One other thing I know that a lot of organizations are struggling with as they move to these virtual things is pre-recording of sessions. Do you guys shepherd people through that process, or do you have partners that will shepherd speakers through that process?
Either or. So we want to be as helpful as we possibly can, but the system is also extremely user friendly to the point where you can handle that yourself, or if you want to use external vendors, you can. So as part of our solution, we do have a full group on the Freestone side of account directors that can actually moderate programs for you. They can host what we call training sessions with your presenters or share training videos beforehand. And then they can also make sure that that live program is going off without a hitch. Now, for pre-recording, we can certainly go ahead and help with any pre-recording of content directly within the system, and then we can rebroadcast it within the platform. And I see a lot of people are doing this now, especially just moving a live program with 50 sessions a day online can be very overwhelming to have 50 presenters ready to go for a live event. So being able to pre-record some of that content just for a little ease of mind is extremely helpful for our clients.
Got it. So we've got a few minutes left. Rachel, what are the things you've seen organizations struggle with as they move to take things online? What are you seeing people have problems with, challenges with?
I think a lot of it's just the unknown, that especially towards the beginning of the pandemic, it was a lot of let's hurry up and figure out a solution, but not really knowing what that solution needs to be. So I think just being patient with your teams and with your learners as well, and then surveying them to understand what they want to see in a live and online solution. And then incorporating new and additional features and functionality. I think with a lot of the platforms, there's a lot of great tools that you have with polling, with chatting, quizzing, the ability to really get your virtual audience involved and make them just as important as an in-person attendee would be. So I think, just being patient with your team internally as well as your learners, and then experimenting and having some fun in the process.
So this is probably a leading question, right? Because I have an opinion about it. But one other thing I see people struggling with is, do I try to replicate exactly, my in-person event in this virtual environment, or do I shift that around some kind of way? Are there things I can take advantage of in the virtual environment that I could never do in a face-to-face environment? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, it's definitely, don't expect it to be exactly the same, because I think you would set yourself up for failure. But I think you can incorporate a lot of the fun things that would happen, in person to a virtual event. So it's not just, all right, log in and consume this content for 30 minutes. Let's incorporate a fun event at the end, maybe teaching them how to do something. I've seen a lot of cocktail hours where they teach you how to make a drink, whether it's alcoholic or non, while you're learning something about that different vertical or a subject matter. So I think still making it fun. I think you need to break things up as well, because sitting at your computer and consuming content is definitely more of a challenge than being on site and having different stimulation that way. So I think tying, fun and engaging elements with live components and some on-demand. So let's say you want to release some on-demand programs before your scheduled virtual conference. Maybe sprinkle that throughout. Maybe every week you're sending out a video on a certain subject to get them excited. I think it's a really great opportunity to make something new and different. Maybe you can try something that you weren't able to do with your in-person program.
Yeah, I agree. The discussion I had with our team was, what could we imagine if we take time and location out of the mix? Because those are usually some constraining things for us. Are you seeing people have longer meetings or shorter meetings as their virtual meetings? And I'm really talking about and thinking about conferences where, a typical association conference might be 3 days or so. Are you seeing people stretch that out or shorten that? What do you see?
I've seen a lot of people shortening it. I think there's a couple of different elements. You've got your learners who, you want to make sure that they're not going crazy at their desks. You've got your presenters that you have to organize, and also your staff. You don't want them to go insane in the meantime trying to herd all these cats. So I think making it a little bit of a different solution, probably scaling back a little bit, but that also provides the opportunity to have maybe multiple series conferences, or maybe you want to do that rebroadcasting functionality where you take a session that you, or a virtual conference that you hosted, and then maybe a month later you restream it out so that attendees can watch maybe courses they didn't get to see the first time. You can stream or get a little bit more revenue out of that existing content, or more opportunity for your members if it's a member added value.
Got it. So one last thing I'll ask you to do, because you demoed 2 products, and I want to make sure that the audience understands the differences between them. I know they work together, but can you do that one more time, the differences between the 2 products, please?
Of course, of course. And I'll show you exactly the elements that I showcase. So Crowd Wisdom is going to be our enterprise solution. And here I really showcased the ability to combine different types of content within one session. So we're using Crowd Wisdom to support a live program, maybe some on-demand components as well, some really structured pre-testing and post-testing, also the ability to plug in an external live vendor. So it could be Freestone, but it could also be another system that you want to utilize, Zoom, WebEx, GoTo. We want to make sure we put the appropriate solution for you and your team together. Now, Crowd Wisdom has a lot of additional features and functionality. We've got B2B. We also have the ability for institutional types of solutions. So that's definitely a larger conversation that I'd be happy to dive into. And then Freestone, that's going to be more of your live event component that we saw here, where you've got the webcams, the webcasting, the ability for production staff to go on site. Both are learning management solutions. So I think the best answer is, talking with our team. We would love to understand your requirements, and then we can prescribe or help you move in the right direction for which platform would work best for you.